Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap, here with Cody Carpentier. We're going to be talking today about Trashman's Dynasty top 250 startup rankings in Superflex versus Cody's Dynasty startup rankings for Superflex. Of course, Cody, a new content contributor here at RosterWatch. You're going to hear him on the SiriusXM radio show. I guess I can just go ahead and announce it now. So we're going to be on during the month of July and August on Saturdays and Sundays, at the very least 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern. But of course, when the training camp tour kicks off, Cody will be involved in that. Byron and be involved in that. Myself and Trashman. We're going to try and hit more training camps this year than ever. And so we'll be on the radio, various nights. We'll be able to make sure and get that out on social media and let you guys know where we're going to be. And of course, we'll have all that content here on YouTube as well. So Cody, great to have you on, brother. How the hell did your 4th of July treat you?
4th of July was good. Spent the weekend, I guess you'd say, up in Massachusetts, up in a friend's cabin right on the border of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. So every morning I went out for my jog. I jogged all the way from Massachusetts to Rhode Island and back. So it was but it was a good weekend. Got a little, first time ever wakeboarding that I've gotten out of the water and I actually got up. So it's a good weekend.
I got to ask you some Massachusetts questions, but first, I've realized if we get into that kind of small talk early in these pods, people turn them off. So let's get right into the meat of it. People aren't here to hear my questions about Massachusetts, but I'm interested in all this oyster stuff you were talking about. All right, so here we go. Trashman and Cody Carpentier. I'll tell you my thoughts on these guys. Cody will talk about his reasoning. Trashman, of course, is not here to defend himself, which we always like because it gives us the opportunity to really, really rag on such a disgusting and despicable man. But Trashman has his own ideas, and the reason I wanted him to be part of our company when we started like 12 years ago is because he's honestly one of the best fantasy players that I know. And so he thinks about things in a weird way. He seems cockamamie, but there is a method to his madness. The first one that we have here is it's probably the biggest discrepancy. It's Anthony Richardson, who in Superflex startups, Cody has at, let's see, where do you have Anthony Richardson, Cody? I think it was a Richardson, 26th overall, QB 11.
Yep.
Trashman, are you ready for this? Trashman has Anthony Richardson in Dynasty startups, Superflex, at number 4 overall, quarterback 3, even over Joe Burrow. And Lamar Jackson. Anthony Richardson, 21 years old, hasn't taken an NFL snap yet. I was flabbergasted when I saw that Trashman had him this high. I didn't know that he was taking this hard of a stance. As you know, Cody, I'm sort of in charge of the redraft stuff when it gets this time of year, creating the cheat sheet products and everything like that for redraft leagues. The Dynasty stuff to keep up with it is Trashman's duties. Yeah. He's gone above and beyond here with making some of these big rankings adjustments since I've kind of taken my hands off the wheel. Number 4 overall, the reason I can see it is because, as we've talked about before, and as you and I saw, Anthony Richardson, of course, the rookie quarterback for the Colts, at the NFL Combine, I think both of us came away just seeing the guy in person before we even saw the nuclear testing. You and I were just like, holy cow, this dude looks, he looked like, we're like, why is this like huge, like outside linebacker or edge guy walking around during quarterback day? And then you're like, oh, well, that's Richardson. So this is what they're talking about. Yep. He has the nuclear testing, gets taken 4th overall by the Colts. I think it's still kind of up in the air about whether he's going to start week 1. There's been some talk about Gardner Minshew maybe starting the year off. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Of course, in Dynasty, we're talking about these guys for the life of their careers. Anthony Richardson, though, that's a swing for the fence. It's a swing for the fences pick in that he could be a player that, as Trashman says, he could break fantasy. He really could. He could be the kind of he could be a Cam Newton plus, and to have that in Superflex, I think is what Trashman looking at the total bull case. What do you think? Do you think he's cockamamie? Clearly, 26th overall for you, quarterback 11. Whenever I look at yours at quarterback 11, I think 4 overall is bad, but I think quarterback 11, I think that's bad too. I think that's kind of bad. Yeah, because just like if I look at it, so the quarterbacks that you have ahead of him, you
Bad
have.
high or bad low?
I think it's bad. I think you're too low. I think having him below
Okay.
a 28-year-old Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, I think that he should probably be above those guys. I think he
Okay.
should be more. I think he should be right there with Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson in that kind of area. He strikes me, and it doesn't take much. Like he strikes me as the same kind of archetype of player.
Yep.
And if we could just get the rushing production out of him, that we gotta. I mean, what is? I mean, his Justin Fields really. She's shown us that at least he could do the rushing part, right?
Yeah.
But we had the second lowest attempts last year of any team was the Bears. We don't know if those attempts are going to go up. I mean, with the signings they've made, we kind of think they are. We're like, why for you is Anthony Richardson not at least there in the Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields territory? Whenever he's like, he's got 3 years on both these guys as far as age.
I thought I was a little aggressive putting Richardson all the way up to 11, being that because like we still see what Kirk has for weapons around him. He's only 34. I think Kirk probably has 4 or 5 years left. Russ, same situation, new coaching staff, etc. Kyler Murray's there. I thought it was a little aggressive to put him ahead of Kyler Murray in that conversation. I know Kyler's hurt, but he's still only 26. The Deshaun and Dak thing comes really down to, we know Deshaun and we know Dak can play football. We know that they're above average passers when it comes to completion percentage. We know that Deshaun Watson has Amari Cooper and a run game and an offensive line. We know that Dak Prescott has an offensive line that was once great, is now good, getting better. And he has the weapons on the outside with CeeDee Lamb, and he's got we think, an above average rushing game alongside him. It's more so like, I know what I know. I know what I've seen out of Dak. I know what I've seen. I know what I know out of Deshaun Watson and what their peaks can be and what their floors can be. And as bad as Deshaun was last year, I don't think he's going to be that bad going forward. Again, 27 and 29, it is older, and it is 8-9 years older than Anthony Richardson. But in quarterback terms, both these guys, if they stay healthy, still have 10 years left, in modern medicine. So when it comes down to it, it's more so just I trust the weapons that are around. I trust the competencies of these offenses and these teams with Dak and with Deshaun. That's why I'd put him over both of them over Richardson right now, given Pittman is in Indianapolis. I love that. Jonathan Taylor's there. I love that. The offensive line's there. I love that. But 393 pass attempts in college for Anthony Richardson, and we haven't seen competency when it comes to passing consistently. It was 54% last year, 59% the year before that, and we had 64 attempts. It's just a tough sale for me at this current point. Obviously, we know the athleticism, 6'4", 240. We get all that. And when you're talking about the rushing, obviously you brought up Fields, you brought up Lamar. Like, I do think he should be in that conversation, and I don't think he's much further. Like, I don't think he's much far below those guys. It's just more so like, we've seen the struggle that these quarterbacks can have as rookies, especially when they're not the most accurate. So, and even when they are accurate, they get bum rushed as rookies in the NFL sometimes. So, I mean, even Trevor Lawrence, as recently as Trevor Lawrence, and even Justin Fields, the question marks around him. So, I love Richardson. I think Trashman's a little high. Am I maybe a little low? Maybe. I think the case can definitely be made over Dak and Deshaun, but I just feel more confident in my team right now with a Dak or Deshaun.
The verdict is Trashman is wrong. Cody is wrong. They are both wrong. He needs to be in the middle of the two of them. And hey, that's what I'm going to tell Trashman. I'm going to say, get him right there. Get him with. But the thing about Trashman is, I mean, even he stacks up these quarterbacks at the very beginning a lot. Trashman has in the first round of the Superflex 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quarterbacks going. And I think that you don't have them stacked up quite as heavy there at the top. So even if we tell Trashman to get him down into that, he's not going to drop him any further than the top. He's still going to be a top 10 for Trashman. I just think number 4 overall, I know number 4 overall is too high. So that's something I'm going to need to get with Trashman about, and something as we kind of work your content and your insights here into our stuff at RosterWatch that we're so happy about. That's the kind of like ways like this and discussions like this that involve you as well are really, really, really going to help us. All right, let's go to the next one here. We have Cody, the email I sent earlier. Oh, Travis Kelce. Okay, so you tell me where you have Kelce, and I'll look up on Trashman's where Trashman has Kelce.
I still have him one. I don't see a reason you can't have him one at least for the next couple.
But what about just like overall ADP?
Overall, okay, so overall non-tight end premium, I have him 29th overall.
Okay, so overall non-tight end premium, Trashman has him actually as tight end 2. He has Mark Andrews ahead of him, and he has no, I'm sorry, he has Kyle Pitts ahead of him as well. So he has Travis Kelce as tight end 3, which seems cockamamie on its face to me. I think that this is bad. I think this is bad from Trashman having Travis Kelce at number 75 overall in startups. Now he's not here, and I don't want to defend him. I never want to defend Trashman. But the one way the one way I will defend him is I know we've been saying, dude, this thing could fall. He's 34, right? Like this thing's going to fall off a cliff. It's going to have to fall off a cliff at some point. Now, what if you only get one more Travis Kelce season? Do you get? Are you like? Are you thinking that this is going to continue being the trend with Travis Kelce, that he's even in non-tight end premium, that he's just such a difference maker that I think if you could say you're gonna get this for another 2 to 2.5 years, I think that's where he belongs, about exactly where you have him. I think the safer thing to say, whenever I was running the numbers earlier, is if you do it at 1.5 years, it's probably a little bit closer to like maybe the same area where you would take a guy like Cooper Kupp, right? One of these kinds of players who is just going to be really good for at least another, I feel like Cooper Kupp, we feel good for another 2.5 years is kind of what I'm baking in for him.
Yep.
Just with Kelce at 34, the hits he takes, the position he plays, Trashman's too low on him. But I'd like, what's your bull case on Kelce? And then, versus consensus, I'd like to even look on Fantasy Pros or something just to see what the consensus is for him as far as super flex. Like, where do they even have him? But
my big thing is if you just look at Tony Gonzalez, for example, because that's really him and Gronk are like the two only comparables you can really have for Kelce as far as current longevity or career arc of talent and output and fantasy relevance. I think it's Tony G as far as longevity and Gronk as far as the bull case for upside. And Gonzalez didn't go to the Falcons until he was 33. And when he was with the Falcons, it was 800 plus, 600, 800, 900, 800. And that's 33 through 37. So if we can just say that Kelce's not going to leave Kansas City and Kelce's going to play for 4 more years, I think we can, and this is obviously assuming no knee injuries, ankle injuries, etc. I think we can pretty easily, I would say, write in 700 plus yards year in and year out for him from here on out until he wants to retire. And that doesn't seem hot to me. And even if it's 700 yards, next year and the year after, and maybe he hits 1,000 this year, and it does drop off a little bit because it did drop off a little bit from reach 32 to 33 for Tony Gonzalez. I think even that, the consistency at that tight end position, whereas we've seen, the Kittles get hurt, and you look at like tight end 6 right now is Dallas Goedert, and it's like, how much do you really depend on Dallas Goedert with AJ Brown in that running game and Devonta Smith? It's like, I think Kelce's still going to be.
Yeah.
I'm saying
I get it. I understand right now the true difference maker he is at this position where you can only have one of them. I get it. My question is, do you really think it's going to, can he put this, like we've been saying it for like 3 years now, that like this is going to be the year, this is going to be the year. And for some, like in one hand, you can look at that and you could say, well, like we say it every year and it's not true. It's like, it's probably going to get but at some point it's got to happen. I think 1.5 years is probably a better projection than 2.5 to operate at this level. But then again, like you're saying, it's like, if he does play all that stuff, I kind of have a hard time seeing Travis Kelce going out and stepping foot on a football field if he's playing at a level that he's not getting 750, 800 yards. And they're going to go to him in the red zone. So it makes sense. I think you're both wrong. I think that I think that you're less wrong, though, Cody. I think that you're less wrong. And it looks like consensus. I'm looking in a couple spots. The consensus in Superflex non-tight end premium is somewhere in this sort of 47 to 58 range. Where did you have him again?
I have him at 29.
And Trashman has him at 75. So once again, by calling both of you wrong and saying you need to meet somewhere in the middle makes me right. Let's go to the next one here. And this is one that you texted me about when I was I've been at these water parks with my kids all week. and I didn't have my rankings pulled up, or I should say Trashman's rankings pulled up, because clearly he's taken a blowtorch to these things since I handed over oversight when the cheat sheet started getting made. And there will be a bit of an overhaul here, as we mentioned. Cody Carpentier here with us, and new contributor that's going to be bringing some great insight here on the channel to this and to the radio show, and also some other features that we'll have coming up. You guys are going to be real excited about. We have some people in the comments asking how your Boston trip went. We'll talk about that here once we get to the end of the show. This is a good comment from Daniel Schaefer. He was talking about Anthony Richardson. He could be Lamar, or he could be Trey Lance. Here's the thing: he can't be Trey Lance because Trey Lance is nowhere near as athletic. So if he could be he could be a souped up Trey Lance. I think that's right. But Anthony Richardson will never be Trey Lance just because Anthony Richardson is Anthony Richardson. He's the most athletic quarterback prospect that we've ever seen. So we appreciate you guys in the comments, man. We'll try and get to y'all better. I didn't even have these pulled up. Okay. The next one, like I said, I was at the water park. Kendre Miller was who Cody texted me about. Of course, the rookie running back for the New Orleans Saints, who Cody, I know, has been high on through the draft process. I've been high on through the draft process. Trashman, Byron, we've all been very high on Kendre Miller, dating back to his time at Texas, where he was a guy who, as Texas fans, we legitimately feared going against. What do you think about the discrepancy here? Trashman has Kendre Miller at 43 overall. He's only 20 years old, and it could sort of be the beginning of the end for Alvin Kamara. I think with Kamara, and I want to talk about this on the Sirius show this weekend after I study a little bit more, but he is his trial set for July 31st.
Perfect.
where they're going to be showing and he can't push it back again this time, I don't think. Where the Las Vegas Metro Police Department will be showing the tape, and that's where a jury of his peers will decide sort of, whether he's, his level of guilt in the alleged incident. I just think once they see that tape, I'm not sure that a jury is going to come away and say, this guy did nothing. It's probably something where he's not going to he's not going to go to jail or anything like that, but they'll probably have some kind of judgment against him. Then at which point the NFL is going to have to do what they do. And then, man, Alvin Kamara has been falling off a little bit as it is. Jamal Williams is not a long-term answer there. Kendre Miller is an awesome player. We had Nick Underhill. He had that Ask Me Anything when he was at the airport the other day when somebody asked about Kendre Miller. He said, dude, if Kendre Miller gets off to a fast start, watch out, and I don't respect really any Saints reporter more than I do Nick Underhill. He's been really, really plugged in there back to the days whenever my hunch was Kenny Vaccaro was his source. So, I mean, he's been there a very long time. What do you think, Kendre Miller? I think you had him when I looked somewhere in like the 70s or something. It's like,
yeah, I got him 74 overall. The question I had for you was what number at running back he had him, because I came out with 16, and I thought 16 was a nice area for him. It took a little bit for me to put him over Ramondre, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, just because those guys are, they're great running backs. And so, yeah, I have him at 16 overall at running back, but 74th overall. I think the biggest thing, the discrepancy between Trashman and I, is that Trashman has him in the 40s, where I have a pretty large tier break after, Javonte at 46 overall, Najee at 50 overall. And then between 50 and 67, there's only one guy. So 50's Najee, 67 overall is Rachaad White, and Josh Jacobs is right in between there. I have a pretty large tier break in there. And that's, I think, why Kendre gets pushed down so much in the overall rankings. But I think in the grand scheme, as far as the overall running back position goes, I think we're pretty close on that. I think it's just more so I have a pretty large tier break in there.
I think Trashman has a pretty giant tier break too, because there's not as many running backs after Kendre. What he's got 1, 2, 3 of these guys after Kendre, but then once he gets to 65 from 43, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 running backs all in a row that he sort of sees there in that kind of range. So I think it's just a matter. I think it's a matter of him being higher on Kendre Miller than you are, maybe a little bit higher on the situation. This is one where I think that in this kind of deal, I think you and Trashman can both be right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's right. I think that your response is reasoned and well thought out. I think Trashman being high on Kendre Miller is justified. Is it a little too high? It might be a little bit too high whenever, for one, I don't think that his ADP in dynasty startups would dictate that you have to take him that high. And so if you can get on that pick, if you can get somebody like a Jordan Addison or a JSN, or, I doubt JSN is going to fall that far, but a Jordan Addison or a Quentin Johnston or one of these kinds of players that's like a young stud wide receiver. Let me ask you this: where do you have George Pickens in relation to Kendre Miller? Way ahead.
I have Pickens. Let's see here. Filter on.
Because to me,
Pickens
it's like
at 55.
55?
55, yeah.
Okay, so Trashman's close. What does he have? 46, something like that. So close enough. So what I'm saying is, in that area, you can get that kind of player, and I think maybe with your next pick, you could get a Kendre Miller if you wanted to still be high on him. So that's another note I'm going to pass on to Trashman that we'll work with him on as we kind of overhaul these rankings with some of the insight here from Cody. All right, the next one, Tony Pollard. And Cody, I would just imagine that after all your time at Player Profiler, the Tony Pollard would have just rubbed off on you, and you would have been higher on him than anybody in the world. But when I look at Trashman's rankings, and this could be Trashman just being a total Cowboys homer, but Trashman has Tony Pollard at number 29 overall as far as his Superflex rankings here. When I look at yours, Pollard, you have him at number 68 overall. Is this just you think that Pollard, he's 26 years old now. He's reaching that age apex. He is coming into the best opportunity of his career, though. I mean, is it – do you fall into this argument? It's like, oh, man, well, at the end of the season, Ezekiel Elliott's going to come back, or like they're going to bring in somebody else, or is this just for you the age thing that's kind of too high for a 26-year-old guy who's never really had this kind of role before?
Yeah, really, I think it's a culmination of multiple things. That is, obviously, I mean, you don't have to say much. The injury is the injury. And as soon as that happens, it happens. We'll go to banana. Yeah, I might if you want me to. So we just turned 26 years old. He's coming into his
Trashman will eat a banana. He'll eat anything that you give his ass for free.
But so he's got a $10 million franchise tag sitting over his head, and he's going to be a free agent next year. He's got the injury last season. Do we really think he's going to come in and take 300 plus touches? I'm not quite sold on it. I love Tony Pollard. Don't get me wrong. I don't love him as much as Matt does, but I love Tony Pollard. I respect his talents, and I think he's going to fit very well in this offense. Now, they do got a couple guys in this backfield right now, Malik Davis, Ronald Jones, and I think they will bring in another back during camp here in the next few weeks. We've seen multiple older quarterbacks and running backs over time come in late in August, and then all of a sudden they're just there, and it's like, damn it, I just been paying this premium on Tony Pollard, and now Zeke is here. Now Kareem Hunt is here, whatever it may be. I don't think it would be smart. I don't think it would behoove the Cowboys to go into a season with just Pollard kind of as that lead back, and the contract that they give him. I don't foresee him getting a big contract, because I think Jerry realized that he made that mistake with Zeke, and I don't think he's going to try and make that mistake again by giving Tony Pollard a big contract. So that's really what kind of pushes me back a little bit. Now, I still love him, but I'm definitely not as high. There's multiple things that just go into it.
Yeah, I think those are good points, but I'll tell you why you're wrong. Is because you have him ranked behind J.K. Dobbins, who's going to be 24 and a half, I guess. So that's your age on the June 1st. So on June 1st, he was 24 and a half. He's going to be 25 this season, and then behind who else was it behind that I thought was bad? It was behind Rashad White, who's also an older who's an older guy coming in. So Trashman might be a little bit high on him. I can understand that, but I do think that you're probably too low on Pollard.
So you would draft head up right now. You're on the clock, because I got these guys back to back, 67, 68. Rashad White, you take Pollard over Rashad White.
Every 2 years, every single day of the week, 100% of the time. There would be not a I'm just like, yeah, dude. I would.
What do you think about the Josh Jacobs is another question for me. He's 25 and a half years old, and I really don't quite know what I think is going to happen with him. Like, do you have any Josh Jacobs? Do you want any Josh Jacobs?
Well, I mean, I like anybody, if I can get them for, if I can get them for cheap, like, dude, if I have one of these, if I'm in a rookie draft right now and I can get it have you seen anybody be able to get Josh Jacobs for like the 112 or something, or the 111? I haven't tried doing that, but I would love to try and do that based on this year's rookie class. I guess not, but probably not as much, even in Superflex. I mean, around that, unless it's Superflex tight end premium, I think that I would give a late first for him. So, I mean, that's about how I value him. I think he's going to be really good this year. I think I'm worried that he's saying he's going to sit out all through camp, and they're saying that he might miss the first week of the season and everything like that. But Josh Jacobs still relatively young. He showed he's a good player this year. He's not going to get the money that he wants, just like J.K. Dobbins isn't going to get the money he wants. None of these guys are going to get the money that they want. They can be a malcontent all they want. Eventually, they're going to have to get on the football field.
You're completely out on Dobbins, it sounds like. You keep bringing him up.
A little bit. It was just, because you hear and we can go into more detail on this on the serious show, but some of the stuff I've been reading about how what was the first day of free agency, they gave Justice Hill a new 2-year deal. Like they're talking about, they're still having, they still have Gus Edwards clanking around there. You worry about Lamar Jackson down at the goal line, as much as they say that they're not going to use him like that anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm more on Pollard, especially if the age difference is only a year and a half. Adam Wallace says so many RBs haven't signed yet. Feel like the Bucs signed someone because Rashad White is extremely overrated. Yeah, man, I think so too. Okay, but I do feel like Cody makes good points. This is one where I think I'm maybe a little bit more with Cody. Jonathan Taylor. Trashman is always extremely high on Jonathan Taylor. Always. He always will be, always has been 13 overall. He's only 24 years old. And so I can get it. He's one of the best prospects that we've seen come out. I just, I feel like he's just high on these Colts, man. He's high on Anthony Richardson. He's high on Jonathan Taylor. I've had this conversation with Trashman. I'm like, okay, well, there's two sides of this coin. Okay. One side is our good friend Matt Kelly, the Alfred Morris corollary, right?
Yep.
The increased efficiency when you get a running quarterback who creates the threat for the defensive end to come down for the dive. And, when they're frozen out there on the side, that dive comes a lot easier, right? They're a lot more efficient with the run game, handing the ball off to their running back, right? That's one thing, okay? The other thing, on the other hand, this systemic risk that comes along with Anthony Richardson. We talked about it earlier. Who knows, right? Who knows? Are they going to be in scoring position often? When they do get down there, the guy's a fucking transformer. Like, are they not? Is he not going to try? Is he not going to rush the football down there? I think he'd be crazy not to let Anthony Richardson dive over the pile for some touchdowns and things like this. So, to me, the systemic risk along with the vulture risk is a big deal. And I mean, the way you're weighing it is you think that I know you worry about the systemic risk because of where you have Anthony Richardson ranked, right? But I also know you've seen Anthony Richardson. You've seen his athleticism. You're a smart guy that knows football. And I think that I can understand why you might be lower on Taylor, who you have ranked at what? Trashman has him at 13 overall. You have Taylor at
25.
25 overall.
So, yeah, I mean, the big thing really for me with Taylor is he's the oldest out of this group, right? So Bijan's 21, Brees is 21, Gibbs is 21, and those are the guys I put in front of him, right? And the reason I put Taylor at 4 overall running back and he's down at 25 for me, he's 24 and a half years old. He's not a spring chicken anymore. He's got Anthony Richardson in that backfield. We just talked about that. You just mentioned 6'4", 240. Obviously, we talked about him earlier. They also went out, and I know this means nothing, but I mean, Isaiah Pacheco was a 7th-round pick as well. Evan Hull was one of the most athletic guys in this draft class at running back. And what was he known for? Catching the football.
Yeah, they're going to play him. They're going to play him a little. Yeah.
I think Zach Moss is not good, but Zach Moss is also in this backfield. He's 220 plus pounds. It's just another big dude to take away some of those grinding reps. I think he's just going to take a little bit of a hit in the receiving game. They want to keep him healthy for the long run. They think they're a good football team. And so for all those reasons, I think he's pushing himself, or I should say the Colts are pushing him more towards kind of what feels like a Nick Chubb career arc for me, more so than, what we wished maybe was like a Zeke or a LaDainian Tomlinson type of situation where he would just be a freak in every facet of everything. It just feels like they're surrounding the whole team with weapons at the quarterback position, running back position, receiver, and offensive line. So obviously I like him. I can't be as high on him as I am on these other running backs that are younger, that have shown the pass catching game and the upside that Gibbs and Bijan have. I just, with 3 years in my pocket, that's kind of why I have it like that.
Yeah, there's a few that you're wrong on here, Cody, but that isn't wrong, right? That isn't wrong. What you're saying is not wrong. I actually think that Trashman this isn't one where I think that you are you're both wrong, and where we need to kind of meet in the middle. I think that Trashman needs to have the top of the board, those first 2 rounds in 12-team leagues structured a lot more like you have it. I like the structure of how you've done this better. So,
okay.
Which is what led to you having Jonathan Taylor. I'm not saying the rankings. I'm not saying he should copy your rankings, but structurally he should look at these and see how these players are spread out and the types of players that you have going ahead of him. And I think it makes sense to get him down to actually right about where you have him. Maybe I'm not saying exactly at 25, but closer to that 2-3 turn. Let's go to the next one here. This is another one that you're right about. Like, just tell me why Trashman. So his Jackson, my jaw dropped when I saw that Trashman has Jackson Smith and Jigba at 42 overall. And this is what this is. This is Trashman. I need to send him a nasty letter, certified letter, saying that'll scare him. He'll think it's going to come from a debt collector, like, because he'll just ignore my emails and my texts. He'll look at a certified letter that comes to his house that he has to sign for, and he'll open it up and he'll just say, "God damn it, Trashman! What the hell is this? It's 42 overall for Jackson Smith and Jigba. What are we even talking about here? You have him at 17. I mean, I don't know that there's any, like, do we even need to talk about how bad that is?"
I took him. I just drafted him 3.2 overall in a super flex draft. Second pick of the 3rd round.
So maybe you could move him down a little bit if you could.
Yeah.
If that's where the ADP is sitting, maybe you could move him down a little, just so you could maybe get if you could get JSN and one other guy. I guess you wouldn't have been able to get him at the 302. He wouldn't have lasted until the 410.
Well, yeah. So I ended up trading my first round pick 205, got AJ Brown, got Garrett Wilson at 2.2, and then took Jackson at 3.2. So he's my wide receiver 3 on this team. So,
I like that start. That's good, man. Well, congrats on that, dude.
But that was more so the thing was like,
is it? That in a super flex?
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
What all quarterbacks are left on the board for you?
So Gino just went, Cuzzy just went 4.8, Stroud went 4.7, Young went 4.5. Best quarterbacks available are Goff, Pickett, Lance, Love, Wilson, Rodgers. We're at 5.3 right now. I don't pick until 6.9, but I have 6.9, 6.10, 6.11, 7.1, 7.2, and 7.4.
Well, hey, Jordan Love could be an interesting pick there. But listen, he's another guy that you and Trashman really have a big disagreement on, and I think this is Trashman has Jordan Love at number 102 overall in Superflex, which clearly is not going to. I mean, golly.
Wait, I thought he liked the Green Bay situation.
Well, I think that his rankings don't. I think that Trashman, as usual, his rankings don't. It's like some of it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's like he wrote it's like he jumped into a big waste management dumpster, rummaged around in there, came out with this pile of rankings and just said, "There, have at it." Like, this is something that he hasn't thought through. He likes Romeo Doubs this year. He likes Christian Watson this year. He likes Jaden Reed this year. For all those reasons, he has to like Jordan Love, or else none of that stuff's going to happen. I think what it is with him is he still has Jordan Love's Senior Bowl stuck in his head. I think that's it. He's like, man, Jordan Love at the Senior Bowl. It's like, and you know how that is, man. It's like Kenny Pickett's on the board for you. You probably still have a little bit of that Kenny Pickett Senior Bowl stuck in your head, right?
Yeah. Pickett's definitely one that's probably exactly how it is for him too. Cause like, even Dobbs is going through his rankings, and I was like, I got to respect where Dobbs is at. I got to respect the situation. I got to respect all that. And you got to like eliminate some things sometimes because it's a couple years removed. And you know that there's other guys in those locker rooms and other quarterbacks and other receivers that can teach these guys things and bring them along slowly. So I think my big thing would be in talking about Jordan Love. I had this conversation a little while ago. I'm trying to remember it right now, but it's him and Kyle Trask. And the two differences is that Trask was a 2nd round pick and Love was a late 1st round pick. And they both had the opportunities this year. Both had old guys leaving, Rodgers and Brady, and Tampa Bay goes out and they go, yeah, we can't trust Trask, period. They go out and bring in Mayfield, right? And Green Bay goes out and says, no, we're not going to bring anybody in, and we're going to give the ball to Love. And obviously, over the last 2 times they've done this with Favre and Rodgers, it's been the right process. And I think there's enough weapons there to keep him competent. I think he's definitely competent enough in the rushing game. This offense is going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be, the glory days in Green Bay, but I think it's going to be just fine. And I think that's how my brain works. Is just, I was looking at the parallels between Green Bay and Tampa with Trask and Love. And I know they're not exact parallels, but situationally, it tells you that Green Bay really does trust this entire situation.
Yeah, we have Jared Dean in the Twitter saying people like the Dolphins, but they don't give Tua any love. I mean, here, like, I agree with that. I mean, we're not talking about Tua, but just as an aside, we're getting him a lot in the redraft cheat sheets. I mean, what you got to fade is him falling on his back and hitting his head again. But, that could be a tough situation where I think even kind of politically and socially, I think that organization would just get a lot of heat to make sure. I mean, it's almost like the media would talk him into medical retirement if he gets in. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably what it is with Tua. People are worried about that. And with Jordan Love, I agree with you. I think he should be up from here. There's not a young quarterback in the league that's stepping up into his new role this organization has clearly shown us. They haven't told us, but they've just shown us that they have confidence in him. I think his closest competition will probably be Desmond Ridder. Right. I think that of the new guys stepping up into these roles, I think that's probably the closest competition is Ridder, but it's nowhere near where it is for Jordan Love. Yeah. Okay. Next one. We just have a few more to get to. Then we're going to ask you about some of these Maryland crabs. Or no, not Maryland. I get it mixed. All that Massachusetts. Is Massachusetts. Jahmyr Gibbs. And this is one where Trashman is wrong. His rankings are bad. Cody's are good. We're going to need to get these fixed. I apologize to our pro members. We're getting into Trashman. I know he's not listening to the show. We need to get this fixed before people start having their startup rankings. And Cody's going to be a big help again. Again, if you guys don't know Cody, I'm sure you know him from this, but you can find him on Twitter at Carpentier NFL. And you can find, I believe, these Dynasty rankings, Cody, these are on your Patreon.
Yes, sir. Patreon.com/executives.
Yeah. So, and he has all that stuff linked on his Twitter, but just go make sure and follow him on Twitter, man. He's RosterWatch crew now at Carpentier NFL. This is, so you have Gibbs, Jahmyr Gibbs. Oh, I typed it in
running back 2.
Oh God!
Sorry,
that's wrong. Hold on.
Sorry, 3. My bad. 3.
Okay, so in Trashman,
24th overall.
And Trashman has him at 41 overall. So it's not as quite as far off as what I thought it should be. My issue with Trashman is that he needs to get, like, he has Javonte Williams and Josh Jacobs ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs, which to me seems really bad.
Yeah, I think the big difference here, just looking at Trashman's rankings, I think the big difference here is that he has a lot more trust in these older running backs than I do. And I think that's where I vault Gibbs above some of these guys. And I definitely have, the Barkleys and Ecklers and Pollards and Jacobs, these 25, 26, 27-year-olds lower. I think that's really one of my takeaways. I think I would say is that he definitely trusts that these guys have a couple years left in them, more so than I do.
Well, Trashman always says about his dynasty teams. He says, "Man, you can have your dynasty team that looks sexy as hell, and all your year two guys and shit like that. I'm trying to win a title, and so like I can understand. He feels like he's going to draft well every year in the rookie drafts, and I can understand this
100%.
stuff with the startups. But I think Gibbs is a level of prospect where he's not giving him adequate respect with this. He needs to have it closer up to where you have him. But I think that." Saying I don't think his philosophy is wrong. I do think the way he went about implementing his correct philosophy here is a little bit wrong. Okay, here's one where Cody just goes off the fucking reservation and just is real bad. I mean, bad, like brain dead bad. And that's the DeAndre's brain dead. But Cody is brain dead bad. DeAndre Swift at 43 overall. I mean, weren't we just talking about somebody down? Who are we talking about down here below? Like, I mean, you have DeAndre Swift, like that far, like a 20-something spots above Pollard. Like over all those guys we talked about, who I thought it was bad to have Pollard over Dobbins, Javonte, Najee Harris. All these types of players. I mean, there's so many of these guys who I would take before DeAndre Swift, whose own team basically told us that they hated him last year. He goes to a situation where they don't use, like, I mean, I understand it's a decent situation in Philly, but they got him on a rental. Who knows what they're going to use him? He's going to be 25. I feel like you haven't gotten away from your pre-draft evaluation on DeAndre Swift. And I know when he's been healthy, he's gotten the ball and he's been good. He's been efficient, but it's like, I mean, is that going to, what is it? Just like he hasn't been used enough? He's been hurt so much. He's got no tread on the top. What is your reasoning here? 43?
So this is actually funny that you say that, the pre-draft thing, because you couldn't find somebody on Twitter that was probably lower on DeAndre Swift than I was. I was not a fan. I've never drafted a singular share of DeAndre Swift until about 2 weeks ago in a startup I did. It'd probably take me a minute to find that exact pick that I made. But nonetheless, it was the first time I'd ever drafted DeAndre Swift throughout his entire career in Dynasty or rookie drafts. And it more so to me, it comes down to his value for the talent that's at hand. And as much as I wasn't a big fan of him, I understand that injuries happen. I understand and I can see talent and I respect talent. I think DeAndre Swift is very talented. I don't think that he's obviously got a lot of trade used on him. He's been a very fine player. He's 15th, and 8th overall as far as average fantasy points per game over the last 3 seasons. And Detroit has been a very different offense year in and year out, in my opinion, as far as having a receiver, having a tight end, having running backs. And they got Jamal Williams. He just kind of, I think he kind of got swindled in the whole Jamal Williams situation. And I think when he goes to Philadelphia, he goes back home to Philadelphia. He's 24.4 years old. He's still got 2-3 years. He's got 2 years on Tony Pollard. Now that we bring that up, he's 212 pounds. I think just playing in that backfield, I think he's going to supremely be the better running back in comparison to Rashad Penny, in comparison to Kenny Gainwell. And I think him and Jalen Hurts is going to be a crazy good dynamic over the next 2-3 seasons. And I'm going to trust it. It's not a I guess you'd say a truther for me, because that'd be something that I'd hold on to too long. For me, it's like a midlife trade or midlife crisis, a midlife switch up where I've been fading this guy for my entire life. It's a crisis. Cody. And now I'm saying, dude, you know what? If there's a guy in this, if I pull up just my running back ranks right now and look at exactly where I have him placed, I'll tell you exactly why. Right there below him, J.K. Dobbins, you mentioned it earlier, the situation. He's 24.4 years old as well. Got Lamar Jackson. He got a couple running backs there. Travis Etienne. What's he really going to be? Well, I want to see him take that next leap. But also, Travis Etienne's been in the league a year less than DeAndre Swift, and he's also the same exact age. Javonte Williams has that knee injury. He's a little bit below him. Najee, 25. Pollard, 26. Josh Jacobs, 25. You talked about Rachaad White earlier. Like, for me, I feel like it's a perfect spot because of what we know he can do as long as he's healthy. And you're talking about an offense in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith. Like, what are we talking about here?
What? I mean, what I'm talking about is like, we talk like they have the best goal line quarterback in the league. Like, dude, like, no, man, like I'm out on DeAndre Swift. Is that high? Like, whenever he got traded there, we all thought it was so sexy, and we're like, oh, dude, to the Eagles, this is killer. The more you think about it, it's like, no, it's not good. It's like, this isn't good. All the signs for DeAndre Swift are bad. And so on that one, I do declare Cody Carpentier to be wrong, even if Trashman is not completely right. Cody's Trashman might be too high on him. Trashman might be too high. Okay, finally. And you know what? This is one that I'm going to trust you on as our resident close follower of the Minnesota Vikings. What do you think of Alexander Mattison as a runner? Just your thoughts on him coming out. I know Byron was super high on him in that class. Byron had Alexander Mattison in that class, his number 3 running back coming out.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been like Byron in this year in redraft is going to be big on Alexander Mattison. I can just tell you that. I can just tell from the texts and the excitement that he has about him. The chance of him possibly leading that Minnesota backfield with the loss of Dalvin Cook. What do you think? Because I think these are guys who identify differences in your rankings. So Trashman has Mattison at 72 overall. Cody has Mattison at 93 overall. So what's the calculus there? And also, what do you think about? What do you think, or no, not what do you think? What do you know about Alexander Mattison thus far in his career?
I know he's a good running back. I know every time he's came in and had the opportunities, he's eaten and he's filled in 1-for-1 for Dalvin Cook. Now, a lot of people around Minnesota aren't happy that they get rid of Dalvin Cook, but a lot of those people are just fans, and they don't understand that contracts matter and situations and new offensive schemes and new general managers and all that stuff that goes into it. They just look at the player and they're like, oh, I love Dalvin Cook because everybody loves Dalvin Cook. I will say about Alexander Mattison is my snap reaction put him at RB 16 in Dynasty. And that was like directly day that happened. Well, actually, it was like a little bit before that because we kind of got inkling of this Dalvin Cook thing a little while ago. That there was actually a trade that happened. It just got pulled for a physical. So I put him at 16, which if I look, we're 16 Kendre Miller right now. He's 74th overall. So my snap reaction was I put him right there. And you look at, you compare the Trashman's notes. I had him 74th. I just cooled off on him. I just came down a little bit more. Because I've done a couple of drafts and I've seen I don't really need to spend that capital on him. And when push comes to shove, they got Dwayne McBride, they got Tykevius Chandler. They show that they've said anyways, or they've ankled that the fact that Kenny Nwangwu has gotten better at as a running back. So when you put all that in together, do we really think that they're going to trust Alexander Mattison in the same exact role that they had Delvin in? I don't think so. At one point I was getting there and I was like, it's not going to happen. They're not going to go full in when they got Dwayne McBride, Tykevius. Like this regime brought in Tykevius and Dwayne McBride. I think this regime is going to definitely want to see what those guys have. And I cooled off a little bit, but I definitely can see why he has him up there at 72.
Okay, dynasty rankings debate over. I think that I don't have a position on Alexander Mattison. I think I don't even know why I brought that. You guys seem like you're kind of generally in the same area. It feels like he's a dude who could fluctuate anywhere there from the low 90s to 75 or so. But you start talking about Ty Chandler, Dwayne McBride. It made me think, Cody, and we'll talk. I want to ask you about these clams and clam chowder or whatever here in a minute. But if it's Ty Chandler, who do you prefer if you can take them in your home league? Because that's what I'm focused on right now, right? The ultimate draft cheat sheet's available at rosterwatch.com. The PPR sheet is up right now. I believe it's up to version 1.6. I'm trying to drop version 1.0 of the Superflex sheet before we get onto the radio this weekend so we can talk about that and run some simulations. But two interesting players that I got the input from you regarding is, maybe at the very end we were getting a lot of Jaden Reed, a lot of Van Jefferson, some of these kinds of players who I really dig with that last pick of the draft. But you said, hey man, why not dot in some of these handcuff running backs, some of these upside tight ends that sometimes fall, the Luke Musgraves or can you believe that Luke Musgrave looks like he's the starter already in Green Bay? That's just crazy, right? I mean, these guys are coming in and they're looking like starters. Laporta is good, like Artie's the starter for Detroit. Like it's pretty wild.
I think they definitely hit it with Kraft and Musgrave. I think that's going to be a pretty dirty duo. I think they both hit hard.
You'd mentioned like those kinds of guys, like take a shot on one of those kinds of guys, take a shot on one of these running backs, all the rest. And so I took that to heart. And so I built into the cheat sheet for what is basically your last pick before kickers and defenses and in most of the regular 12-team drafts with the 7 players on the bench, that you would have a choice between guys like, Jaden Reed, Van Jefferson, some of those tight ends, and then these 2 running backs. And I just have, who do you like better next year, Ty Chandler or Tyjae Spears?
In 2023?
For a last round pick in redraft.
Tyjae Spears.
And is that just because if Derrick Henry gets hurt now, and now there's the Hassan Haskins news there too. Yep. He's going to get kicked off the team, right?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to that. I think it's, Tyjae, I've talked to you about this before when we heard about the knee stuff. Tyjae's been a 2023 play for me, 2023, 2024. And that's about all I'm interested in until we see him physically play and hear some more stuff about the knee. But yeah, I think as far as that goes, like if the floor falls out on Henry before week 4, you're talking about Tyjae Spears being a guy that's going to get run and be useful in fantasy every single week throughout the entire year, because this team, we don't know what this team is, but the one thing you need to do is you need to play football. You need to run the ball. You need to pass the ball. And if Tyjae Spears is the best running back between him and Julius Chestnut, which we think he is, that's a starting running back.
Yeah, we don't.
And the thing with Ty Chandler is there's so many dudes there, and that offense is so good. It's humming as far as Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. They want to throw the ball, and they have multiple running backs that are talented. So I think as far as opportunity goes, I think
it should be Spears. It should be Spears. He should be ahead of Chandler on the sheet. So again, Cody providing great insight and helping us out here at RosterWatch Nation. I got to ask you, people are just asking in the chat. Massachusetts, you were up there. You sent me a text message. You said, hey, send me the video that Billy Muzio sent you about how to shuck oysters. I'm such a boomer. I couldn't figure out how to share a video that he'd sent me in Twitter DMs. I don't think there's a way to share that. I truly don't. I know you sent me a screenshot of how to do it, but it's like, it didn't work. Maybe I need to update my Twitter, but did you figure out the oysters? Did you get to eat any? Were they any good?
Yeah, we boiled them and they popped themselves, and it was pretty. They were pretty fantastic. That was like our appetizer for dinner that night. We had burgers that night, I think, and they were pretty fantastic. Put them in a little butter and.
All right, so and you've had Maryland crabs too, right?
I have not had Maryland crabs specifically.
What do you guys eat in Virginia? What's the most popular famous food?
Shit, dude. What do I mean? I got a smoker, so I smoke everything that I got. I would say fish. As far as fish goes, what I've been eating the most of is a catfish, and everyone gives me shit for that. But like, I can get catfish pretty cheap down here. As far as like, you can get like a half pound for like $2.50, and at Kroger like daily, and it's like pretty fresh. And you throw that puppy in the air fryer, put a little seasoning on it, and the air fryer cooks in about 8 minutes, and it's like. For me, like right now, like that's pretty solid as far as bang for your buck. And
I'll tell you the secret
to red meat.
All right, so I'll tell you the secret to great catfish, and then I have one more question for you. The secret to great catfish is you got to cut the strips thin. The thinner the better, right? Because then you get all the seasoning and the taste. And I don't know if you put breadcrumbs or anything on it, but it gives them a little more crunch. It's like as thin as you can cut those pieces, it makes them taste better. And then the other thing is, I want to just ask you this. All right, so you said those oysters were delicious. You got it. You have to choose one of these. The oysters up there in Massachusetts, the like the steakhouse stuff in Indy, like we get at the Combine, the steaks, or the Kansas City barbecue, like we got at the draft.
Is that a real question?
Yeah.
Give me the steak in Indy every day of the week.
Thank God you weren't going to be wrong again, Cody. Jeez, man, I couldn't handle you being wrong one more time.
I thought you were joking when you brought up Kansas City. I was like, wait, what?